prime time on the top game, it's a fine line. Man in the match, that's Dave I. He's the main guy, keep a close eye. Make sure you don't make no wrong play, cause I'm with Jose and Andre. And when Cyrus comes to walk in, you better know that you are watching Premier League. Dave I, tell him what time we on. Prime time. Let me hear you say Premier League. Dave I, tell him what time we on. Prime time.
Hello and welcome to Premier League Primetime, the season finale, the finale of season 3, and a close to the 22-23 Premier League campaign. And before I start, he's finally here, ladies and gentlemen. The one and only Waleed. He's made it. He's finally here. Bro, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I feel like I've done like a pool pub with the season, even this flipping out. But you know what? We've made it. Hope you guys have had a great day. Brilliant. Good to be on the show. I think now, what, third time I've been on now? I want to say.
And yeah, it's about time he's marked his return. And of course, I'm joined by the other three, Jose, Sirius, and Andre. You know what? I'm going to save myself the sake of asking, and we're just gonna get right into the show.
I'm great, Davis. How are you?
It's always a lose-lose for me whenever I ask, because I ask, no response. I don't ask, and it's like they get the input. But anyways, let's just get straight into this. Taking a look at the final Premier League table. And we'll start off with the champions. Unfortunately, the side who are top of the Premier League for 90-plus days, or for 90 or more than 90% of the season, were not able to focus on that bigger fish they had to fry, and they lost it out to Manchester City. Taking a look at Manchester City, what would you say? What would you scale their season on a scale from 1 to 10? And who would there some other standout players from the season be on a positive aspect, a negative aspect, and just overall improvements that we've seen from Manchester City this season in comparison to seasons gone by?
You see the way my smile just evaporated as soon as you just said that. If we were to, if we were to rate Man City, their season out of 10, what would I say? I'd probably say, this might be a bit controversial, but I'm going to go with 8. Even though they won the league, they only won with 89 points compared to previous years when we've seen 90 plus every year. From August until about maybe January, February, they were quite average. Like, they were just, obviously for their standards, for other teams in the Premier League standards, they were still amazing. But for their standards, for Pep standards, they were an average team. Like, I remember around that time, everyone was talking about, City and Liverpool, the rivalry is over, they've all fallen off and all of that. But like, this is why when people say, like, this is why Pep's one of the GOATs when it comes to just management in general. Like, I don't know who goes to sleep, wakes up in the morning and thinks, you know what, let me just play 5 centre-backs in my starting 11 just because I can. And this little like back three with John Stones playing in as the 8, as the 6, sometimes even as a 10 when he progresses with the ball. Like, it's amazing. And to be honest, like I kind of want City to win the treble, because even though Arsenal bottled the league, I'd rather us lose to the team that won the treble than lose to the team that maybe like got the Premier League and that's about it. Do you know what I mean? So overall, yeah, I'd probably say City 8 out of 10.
No, 100%. I mean, as for me, everyone knows, and Jose as well, we don't want to see them win the treble. We have zero interest in it for the obvious reasons. Andre, just moving over to looking at Manchester City this year, who would you say has been, you could say, the biggest improvement when you look at players from this season and seasons gone by, or just from last season in general?
Tough one. I'd maybe say John Stones had a huge impact on their season. I also want to talk about just the way that City had to sort of alter their play style a little bit with Haaland coming in. I thought it was really stupid that the people who doubted Haaland's success at City, because they saw City as such a technical team, that maybe Haaland didn't have the capability to do that. The team meshed together in the end. They stuck together. They were not they at midseason they were second behind Arsenal. They stuck together. They kept doing what they did, and even changed things tactically game by game. Kept to their principles, and they've ended up league champions. Granted, Walid is correct that they ended up with 89 points, which isn't the best Pep finish, but I'm sure that Pep will take being Premier League champion on 89 points and then adding a treble to it in other competitions. That is not going to be a bang average season. So yeah, City, they've done really well. But yeah, just that back line for City is probably what I'd point out, Davis. Akanji, John Stones, I thought were both brilliant additions to the season. Ake as well.
100%. Sears, coming to you, I think there's a name that I think we, not just pointing it out to Sears, just in general, I think a big name we have to talk about is Jack Grealish. And I think that he has massively turned the season around. And Sears, I just want to ask you, looking at Jack Grealish this season, what do you notice or see that's different from him? What has he been doing this season when you look at last season that you could see that there was something lacking? Has Pep Guardiola really added something to his game that Grealish may not have had before? Has he adjusted to life at Manchester City? Why have we seen such a huge, and I'd say quite simply an enormous improvement in Jack Grealish's week-to-week performances to the point where Phil Foden's just been resigned to the bench now?
Yeah, definitely a drastic improvement from last season. We've seen what Grealish do at Aston Villa. Is the price tag worth it now? I'm not sure. It's 100 million, but he's been so much better than last season, and I think that comes down to Pep. But I also think it comes down to him because he talked about in an interview last summer, like how he was. I think he was like training at this German team, but it just shows that he was grinding last summer so that, he could try to get into this City side that has a lot of class wingers, Mahrez, Foden, and for him to be able to start game in, game out on the big really shows something. I'm impressed with him. And against Real Madrid, he was Carvajal, pardon my language. Like Carvajal could not contain him. It was it was great to see, honestly, because I don't like Carvajal. So yeah, props to Grealish. Great.
I could not have said that better than Sirius. I just said that right there. And just an opinion question is, Jose, will they complete the treble? Do you think that they will win the treble?
Yeah, I mean, we have to be realistic. If United and Real Madrid couldn't stop them, I don't really see Inter doing so. I think the only thing that could stop them is their own history and the fact that they've never won it before. But I would say they'll probably do it, 90% sure.
And if they win the treble, just to go around to everyone, would you say that this Man City side is the greatest Premier League side to ever grace Premier League history? Or would you say no?
I'll start. I'll say no. I would say the United side in '99 was better because I think the overall quality of the league was much better that year. And then I would also say that the Arsenal Invincibles are better than they are.
Good point. Andre, what about you? I think you're muted. Something's on there.
I know. I don't think they're the greatest Premier League side ever. The two that Jose just mentioned come to mind, and even I personally was more of a fan of the City Centurion season than this team. So yeah, I don't think they're the greatest Premier League side ever. I do think they have it's in their hands the treble, but I don't think Inter should be underestimated. I feel like these are the kinds of games where Italian sides just end up touching it up for some reason. So I think it'll be more of a battle. I think like when France-Croatia were in the final for the World Cup, I was going France all the way. I don't feel that for this Champions League final. I think it'll be more competitive than we think. I think Inter have the quality to maybe slow City down. Maybe the pressure will get to City if they don't make an early goal. We'll see.
Fair enough. Next, of course, commiserations. Here's some lead. We have Arsenal. And just to throw this out there, because going into the season, obviously no one would have predicted that Arsenal would be up there with Man City for the title. So just to throw this out there to serious Emily, but before we get into what would you rate Arsenal seasons out of 10, stand-up players on positive and negative sort of spectrum, do you see the season as a success or a failure, and why?
You want me to go first?
Sure, why not? Your Wally doesn't really matter.
Okay. Yeah, it's a success. Considering we league in so many years, people did not expect to finish top 4 even. I said we'd finish. I didn't even think we'd finish. I didn't even think we'd be in this title race. So I definitely see it as a success rather than a failure. Arteta's, like going to the stadium when we were losing to Brighton 3-0, the atmosphere was still like, it just wasn't toxic. For previous years when I'd go toxic, Arteta brought this fan base together, brought the players together. Players seem like they have great chemistry between each other. Like all our players are so young. Like they're not even in their primes yet. Saka's 21. Like so many of these players are so young. We're gonna be great this season. We're gonna fight for that title. Sure, should have won it. That's for sure. Did we bottle it? I guess we did. But at the end of the day, I'm still proud of what we did this season.
Fair enough. Waleed, what about you?
Yeah, I'll talk until Waleed comes back. One thing that I do think it was a success for Arsenal. What I sort of admired about Arsenal this season is that they sort of had that sort of thing that I also see with City, where it's like you can add any player to that team and it feels like they're going to succeed. They added tons of different ingredients to that team this year, and all of them found a way to contribute. Leandro Trossard at the end was phenomenal for them. When Gabriel Jesus had his injury and Nketiah had to come back, it was just like, I just felt like they all had these different ingredients in that team, and they were still able to perform. And that's what I see with City too. They have all these different players with different attributes, and they're able to contribute to this overall core of strength in that team. So I think that's what sort of was one of the most convincing factors to me that Arsenal were a force to be reckoned with this season.
100%. And Waleed, what about you? Do you see this season as a success or a failure?
Before I talk about that, I just wanted to talk about the last question with was Man City the greatest team? Is it the greatest team we've ever seen?
Mm-hmm.
With that, I don't think it's the greatest team we've ever seen, but in terms of dominance, I think this is the most dominant we've seen in the Premier League for a long time, and arguably ever, for being honest. From 2018 till now, it's basically been all City. They've had maybe like one leap where Liverpool won the league, but except that in terms of just across the board, most competitions, they've won them all domestically. Look at how many League Cups they won under Pep. 5, 2 FA Cups now, 4, 5 Premier Leagues. Like 4 Premier Leagues out of the last 5 years is absolutely insane. They're only the second ever team to do the 3-peat in the Premier League history. Like it's not the greatest City team. Me personally, I think it's 18-19 Man City when they took Liverpool by a point. I think that's the greatest Man City team ever. Or maybe the Centurions, one of the two. But I'd probably say Centurions now I think about it. But just in general, this season, the way that they came back after they were basically, I think they were only top in general for about 30 days, and they won the league. Like that just shows the mentality, the difference in class between the two teams. It just shows in it. And like sliding into this question, success or failure, 100%. I'm going to say success. The only thing is that it's the same Achilles heel last 5-10 games when we get injuries. We don't have the quality players to come in. Maybe people say, oh, if Kyrgios started before Holding, would we have still won the league? Kyrgios a good player, but in general, if you want to be winning for a Premier League title, you compare the City depth that they have in that position compared to Arsenal. If Saliba and Gabriel get injured, we have Kyrgios and Holding, and that's really it. They have a Kanji, Ake, Diaz, Laporte, Stones, so many players that can just fill in that position. They're all either around about the same level or levels higher. And I think just in general, until Arsenal really go in the transfer market, and really get rid of the deadwood, because we've been doing it for a little bit here and there, but we've still got players that need clearing out. Still players from the old regime that haven't got up here. And in general, I just think with Arsenal, it's getting to a point now where we've had the young players, we've had that opportunity, bringing in random guys from the Bahamas, from the favelas that are like 17, 18, praying that they're the next Messi and Neymar. Like, we've done that, and I'm happy with that, because we've brought in players like Martinelli from like the third or fourth Brazilian tier league. Saka's come through the academy. Odegaard was a Real Madrid reject when we signed him, and he's turned out to be one of the best midfielders in the league. You look
Fabio
at
Vieira.
Fabio. Less said about him, the better. But like, just in general, I just think we've brought in players, even like Saliba. Like, he wasn't really that well known when we signed him. Gabriel, same with him, kind of. Just in general, like, we've brought in players, we've given that system, we've given that chance. Now we need to get away from that and focus more on players that have experience at the top level and have the quality. We've already low-key started doing that. We bring in Jorginho, who's looked like a good signing. I know the Chelsea fans are going to be like, oh, agent, this, and that. They're just in denial because he's class. He's been class for Arsenal, at least, for now. Trossard, brilliant signing.
20 million?
27 million, absolute coup. He's class, brilliant player. Yeah, that's good. I like those signings. I want to see more of those type of signings that have experience but still have the quality to play week in, week out, and to be a rotation player. When we get that sorted out, that's when I think we can challenge. But this season, 100% I'd say success. Just about how, from where we were this time last year or this time 2 years ago to where we are now, it's a great achievement.
No, 100%. And that was sort of leading me into my next point about where specifically is strengthened, but you've already started to go along that line, talking about where Arsenal should strengthen. And of course, if you want to check out our latest video series, Keep Low to Sell, you'll see exactly what Sirius has had to say, especially on Cedric. Don't get Sirius started on Cedric. That's definitely not a good thing to get Sirius started on Cedric. But no, you're 100% correct. And one thing they will say, right, is I'd say over the last year and a half, I've seen a lot of Yuri Tielemans, just in particular Yuri Tielemans. Just, would you take Tielemans at Arsenal?
Me personally, yeah, why not? Like, he's a good player. I'll happily take him over the likes of Sambi Lokonga. Jack is leaving anyways, so like it's killing two birds with one stone. He's still a great player. He's had a poor season, yeah, I get that, but he's been on a poor Leicester team, and bearing in mind he's been thinking about leaving for about a year now. So yeah, I'd happily take him. Good wages if we put him on that, and yeah, it'll be a quality signing. He won't start. Maybe we can week out. Could hopefully we get Declan Rice, fingers crossed. Now that we're strong. Now that we're back here, might get some quality players that can really get in. But yeah, I'll take him 100%.
Definitely. But it was something funny. I don't know if it was Jose or if it was Andre telling me this, but I think one of them was telling me that that when they see Yuri Tielemans, it almost looks like he's either about to have a tantrum or just have a sob on the pitch. Just, I don't know, like he always looks like he just can't be asked or just does not care clearly. But then again, playing in that Leicester side is pretty dreadful. So to be honest with you, it would be hard for me to care as well. But I don't know. I feel like he's the kind of player that, like, when things are going down, he'll just kind of go with the sinking ship. And when it comes to capitulations, and also in particular, I know those two definitely have a strong bond when looking over the years. I'm not sure if that's the kind of player that Arsenal would get. I mean, we're hearing the Declan Rices and the Moises Caicedos. And they're probably going to sign one of them. And for me, I'd make that my top target, but who knows? Everyone has a different opinion. Now, next, Jose, it's time to review our season. Manchester United, what are you saying, Jose? What would you give our season? First season under new manager Erik ten Hag. Players have set you on a positive and negative spectrum, and just biggest improvements off of last season. But I mean, then again, anything, even a point better after last season would be improvement.
Yeah, definitely. I would probably give us an 8.5 this season. I think we've had a really, really promising first season under Ten Hag. I really liked his relationship with the fans. I think at the stadium, everyone really loves him, and then he walks in and you just hear thunderous applause, which is great because in previous managers we're absolutely not seeing any of that. The atmospheres in Old Trafford were brilliant this year, and I was really happy to be able to go see that. I would say Ten Hag did a really good job, especially in other competitions, because I think we finished third in the Premier League with 75 points, but we also made it to the quarterfinals of the Europa League and to the finals of both cup competitions, which I think is really impressive. And it really shows Ten Hag's ability to win a lot of games in a row, which I was really impressed with. I would say our standout players definitely Casemiro, Lissandro Martinez, Marcus Rashford, Rafael Varane, Luke Shaw. I would say were
Andre.
probably our best players this season. Otherwise, on a negative point of view, there's not really players who had particularly poor seasons. I mean, you could say someone like Maguire, but he barely even played, so I wouldn't be too down on him. A lot of our fan base would say that De Gea has had a shit season.
He's still on the Golden Glove.
I don't know if I would agree that he had a bad season, but I'd say that it's definitely an area that we can improve in the team. But yeah, that's my overall take on our season.
No, 100%. And with the whole David De Gea thing, and again, if you want to hear more about what Jose thinks we should do with the squad, go and check out our newest and latest video series, Keep, Loan, or Sell. And you'll get to hear the in-depth explanations of what Jose thinks that we should keep and loan and sell next season. But I would say I wouldn't say negative, because people know how much I love this player and how much I constantly defend him. But Jadon Sancho is a worry. He's worrying me. I'm willing to give him another season because I see signs. I see parts of his game which are progressing. I know Andre's laughing at me right now. And just, I don't know. I just think that maybe that he'll compete with Hansen on the right-hand side. Jose has been saying for how long he's best on the right wing. Jose, I think you've been saying it since season 2.
I have.
That he needs to play on the right. He can play on the left, but he's better on the right. I know Walid has definitely had a thing or two to say about Jadon Sancho in the past. Walid, enlighten us, actually. What are your general thoughts on Jadon Sancho? Do you think if given more time, he could potentially crack on next season?
I think next season, if it's not good, you have to set them cash on. Genuinely,
Yeah,
I think like in general, he's a brilliant player. Obviously, we've seen in the Bundesliga to get double-digit goals and assists 3 years in a row in Europe from ages 19, 20, 21. That's obviously elite. There's something there in him. We can all see. But the only problem here is that you look at this year. So if you want to compare, obviously they're not the same, like player-wise, Haaland and Sancho, but they both came from the same team and came to the Premier League roughly at the same time. So it's a good comparison to make. You look at the difference here with Haaland. They both came from the same team in the same league, very counter-attacking league, very pace-type league. And you see Haaland, he's still got that in him. He still makes those runs in behind, has that physicality with him. Sancho, I don't think I've ever seen him run more than like 5 minutes. Like genuinely, I swear, it's the same thing. He'll do a little shimmy, step back pass, try and make someone like it's a completely different Sancho at Man United right now. Like I don't know, but yeah, I'll give him another season.
That's fair. I mean, some people want him out now. Some people are willing to give him more time. I just know that there's a player there, and I think a player who that I'd say and not even just Manchester United supporters in general, but I also think the Glazers as well have just been obsessed over Jadon Sancho. This is a guy that they have been trying to sign and recruit since 2017 when he just left for Dortmund. So this is a player that we wanted for a long time. I just don't think we should just throw it away just yet. I give him another year. But if it's the same as this year, then if he's on the sell list, then I won't be surprised. I won't necessarily disagree with it. And the last question before we get into Newcastle, the next stage of this rebuild for Erik ten Hag, Jose, what needs to happen specifically in the summer in regards to recruitment, or does that really depend on the whole ownership situation?
Well, I mean, yeah, the next stage of rebuild for Ten Hag does not depend at all on Ten Hag. I think it depends entirely on what owners we get in the summer, what owners we get, or what owners we're left with. I think it comes down to if we get Qatar, then I think that Ten Hag will be on his way. If we don't get Qatar, I don't think there's any chance that we'll get enough players we need. Maybe we'll get some players who can improve us a little bit, but I think if we get the right players this summer, we'll totally be in the title race next year.
As long as it's not Mason Mount, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Honestly, like I don't understand. Like here's the thing. Like I don't know whose board or which club is just in my honest take, because there are Manchester fans out there that want Mason Mount. That
There are
like
a lot want Mason Mount, which is very surprising to me. I don't know who's watched him and thought he was good recently, but whoever has his.
I have a
don't
question.
Go for it.
Speaking of Mason, would you take?
No.
No, we have to answer the question. We have to answer the question, Davis. Hold on.
I know what the question's gonna be. No, he can. I think it's better to just cut ties there. With that Mason. It's
He was so lethal.
and well, let's continue on to Newcastle. I'm just gonna let that be an open-ended question. Newcastle now.
He wasn't our only winger with never mind.
Yeah. Let's just keep it on Newcastle right now. I don't know, Andre, go to you in this one. Newcastle. Standout players. And I know whenever I say Miguel Almiron, Andre gets super excited whenever I say Miguel Almiron. He goes crazy because he talks about him constantly. But I mean, how much props do you give this Newcastle side? I mean, what a season they've had, finishing in the top four, getting to the Carabao Cup final. I mean, they've had a great season, Newcastle. So also this one out to Walid as well. Just players that have stood out to you for Newcastle, and how much credit should Eddie Howe get for the season they've had?
Like, I don't know. To be honest, Newcastle, if we're saying out of 10, it's a 10. Like, we're keeping it plain and simple. It's 10 out of 10. If you asked Geordie this time last year, when they beat Arsenal, knocked them out of the top four, and they were buzzing, they finished, I think, 12 at the time. If you would have asked them in a year's time, you would have signed one of the most promising strikers in world football and got top four, they would have laughed in your face. Like, it's an incredible, incredible season they've had. And everything should go to Eddie Howe. He brought this team in. He came in about October. From October to January, worked his magic, got them out of the relegation zone. Then, he didn't buy a single player. Then in January, when he did buy players, he didn't overspend. He didn't bring in any big names. He didn't really do like what City did when they bring in Robinho. Didn't really do what PSG did.
I think they only signed Bruno Guimaraes.
But he wasn't a big name.
No, he wasn't. No, but I'm just saying. I think that's the only player that they signed that January was literally Bruno Guimaraes. That was
Trippier and Burn and Target, all these other guys.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But in general, when you look at Newcastle, you look at his team, you look what Eddie Howe's done. Bearing in mind, he was out of management for about 2 years. You saw in the documentaries the way he was analysing other managers when he was flying up to Spain to see Diego Simeone, the way he played, writing down tactics, all of that. You see all of that and the way it's made him a coach today. He's the best English coach we've had since God knows how long, honestly. He is class and he should get all the credit, genuinely. Because when they have spent big, it's paid off. You look at, it's like 70 million. Obviously, it was a lot of the time, but it's paid off. He's a brilliant player. Bruno was about, 38, 40 million? Paid off, quality. And then that's really the big one, to be honest. Maybe like Anthony Gordon, we'll see, yeah. Like in general. And even like when you look at it, yeah, who in their right mind, yeah, this is up there with Pep Guardiola. Who the hell woke up one morning and I thought, you know what, Joelinton, I think he should play as an 8, Just why not? And he's become one of the most amazing midfielders this season.
He's gone from a striker.
Miguel Almiron, obviously steam's blowed off a little bit, but he's even making guys like Jacob Ramsey. This guy's championship quality. He's making him look
Jacob Murphy.
Jacob Murphy, sorry, not Ramsey.
That's the moment of the season for me.
Eddie Howe just works his magic, man, honestly. Dan Burn at left back, like a 6'8" WWE wrestler playing left back. Oh my god.
Oh no, I'm dead. But no, Wally makes a great point. I mean, Joe Linton. I mean, they signed the man as I think 40 million pounds as a striker, was seen as the biggest flop in the Premier League at the time. Eddie Howe's come in and he's apparently now a number 8, and he's been superb in the midfield. Joe Linton. I mean, you have to give it to him, Eddie Howe. And Andre, I'll throw this question out to you now. Looking at Newcastle now, and they're now a Champions League side. What is this next stage of this Toon revolution at Newcastle right now?
I think they obviously have the money to just increase the depth at that club. Well, obviously we mentioned some players there. I mean, Isak is probably the most brilliant attacker there. Callum Wilson's obviously a brilliant striker, but he has his injury issues. Almiron, I think, should probably is a player who's gonna be coming off the bench. But this is gonna be the first time that I've seen Newcastle fighting on this many different fronts. So just adding the depth to that squad is gonna be huge for them. They've obviously shown their capability in terms of scouting the right talent, where they're spending their money. And yeah, just doing that to a large degree, signing more players, I think is probably what's next.
No, 100%. And also, like, when you look at Eddie Howe, right, he's coming to a team where, where he still has, as Waleed said earlier, the Jacob Murphys, the Sean Longstaffs, who, again, Jose now will know very well. We almost spent 50 million on Sean Longstaff. The Joe Willocks of this world. He's come in and he's done well with players like that, and you have to give him credit. Now next, Liverpool. Oh, I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to see them in Europa, boys. I can't wait to see it. We all love to see it. I mean, to be fair, that's where Trent's quality of defending belongs, most likely. But Liverpool. Where do I start with Liverpool? Jose, you're going to be the perfect person for this. What do you have to say about Liverpool this season? Players on positive and negative spectrums, and score Liverpool's season out of 10.
Yeah, it was definitely a poor season from Liverpool. Surprisingly poor. I think I was really surprised to see the drop-offs of a lot of players, like especially Van Dijk. And Trent at the beginning of the season was absolutely awful. But as soon as when he moved into more of a midfield role, I think he actually became one of their best players this season. I would say him and Salah have been their biggest bright sparks by far, and Alisson as well. I would definitely say has probably been one of, if not the best goalkeeper in the league this season. He's won them a lot of points. But I'm very, very happy to see them go to the Europa League. I'd probably give their season a 5 out of 10 because they failed in getting the Champions League. But I do think that next season they'll be right back in the top 4, or if not the title race, especially with the addition of McAllister. Which I think should be a really good signing for them.
100%. And going off of, and speaking of McAllister, how does Jurgen Klopp usher in this new era for Liverpool in regards to recruitment strategy? Because it's definitely clear that this team needs a revamp. I mean, I know all of us would have loved to see Milnerson in midfield, for another season, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Milner is his James Milner, everlasting James Milner. I don't know. Is he I think he's 38 or something like that. I swear he's everlasting. He's gone to Brighton to go and try and assist Brighton Munich in the Europa League. Imagine just Brighton winning the Europa League. I mean, how incredible that would be.
Oh, don't. I'm already quavering at the fact that West Ham are about to win European trophy for Arsenal. Don't dare bring Brighton into this. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'll just quickly talk about Liverpool. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Jose, I think 5 is a bit generous, to be honest. Because if you really look at it, yeah, this team, the amount of players that have just poof all the way, the quality has gone completely out the window. Look at Fabinho. This time last year, he was probably one of the best in the world in his position. Now
People
he's
said he
not
was
even
better than
top 15,
Casemiro.
like,
Some people said Fabinho is better than Casemiro. I don't know.
Yeah, Cafu said that.
yeah, even though for Brazil, Casemiro starts and Fabinho doesn't, it was really stupid. But just in general, Fabinho has been awful. Van Dijk getting put on his ass by Perisic. Oh my goodness, absolutely horrible.
Van
by
Disney,
his
Van
standards,
Disney,
at
Van
least. I still
Disney with the magical aura.
That's not, yeah, bro. To be honest, with him, by his standards, he's had a terrible season. But in general, if you look at it from a centre back perspective, he's still been okay. But he's not been good enough. Trent first half of the season, not even first half, up until April, terrible, really poor. Then when he got moved into that inverted, well, that's when we started to see the best of Trent, which is probably like regained some of his credibility again. Because a lot of people were saying that he was absolutely finished. Like the Wan-Bissaka debate started happening again. When I heard that, I was like, oh, don't let this happen. Yeah. Who else? Just in general, even I think Robertson dropped off a little bit. Just that entire core of players that were there last season and the years gone by in the club era, they've all dropped off. But I think next season, genuinely, this might be a bit of a crazy early season prediction, but I think Liverpool are going to finish second. I'm not going to lie. I just think if there was one team, yeah, it's crazy. I'm not going to lie, but I just have a feeling. If there's one manager in world football that can get the best out of players, it's Jurgen Klopp. It's 100%. It's true. Like,
No, it's true. I mean, he came into the Liverpool side that had Martin Skrtel, Dan Lovren,
Mamadou Sakho,
yep,
Moreno, the list goes
Sakho,
on.
Adam
And
Lallana.
like the list goes on and on, yeah. And you look what he did with those players going to Europa League final, his first couple months of the club. And with this team, like he's gonna bring in like I think Kone from Rennes. He's gonna bring in another player. I forgot the French.
Oh, Thuram, yeah.
name.
Yeah,
Pardon?
Thuram, yeah.
Thuram, yeah, Thuram. I think Thuram is from Rennes and Kone.
Liverpool,
from
please
another
make a
team.
bid for Mason Mount. Just he'd be great for you guys. 70 million. Come on, Liverpool, just pay up. He'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Just save us. Save us the speculation.
No, but to be honest, yeah, when you deep here, you deep that midfield of Kone, Thuram, and McAllister. That could be their midfield easily for like the next 10 years. Because you look at the longevity that this Liverpool team has. Robertson's been here since like 2016. Trent came through the academy. Alisson's been here for like 5 years now. Van Dijk like 6-7 years. Henderson over a decade. Like this entire team has been here for ages, genuinely. So I think this midfield will stay like that for a long time. And I think Klopp is going to get the best out of his players. And I think now that there's not going to be as much pressure on them because they're in, do you know what I mean? So I just don't think there's going to be enough pressure on them as much. So I think they're just going to go about their business and just creep into that second spot. I don't know why, but I have a feeling, man. Damn.
No, 100%. Now next into as our lovely friend of Premier League Primetime Traps would say, the one and only Brighton Munich. What a season they've had. Serious. I'll go over to you for this one. Brighton Munich. What would you give their season out of 10? And players, other than the obvious, which will probably get mentioned anyways, that have stood out to you on a scale of 1 to 10, and just and also how much credit should De Zerbi get for how brilliant they've been this season?
A lot of credit. I mean, I think I would have to give them a 10 if they got Champions League. So I'm going to give them like a 9, 9.5 because, wow, what they absolutely dismissed them. They've been great. The likes of Caicedo, they've been all so great. They're going to have to find out what to do with Caicedo, McAllister leaving. McAllister's going to Liverpool already. But I think they're going to, they've been known for signing these types of players, and I think they're just going to continue to do so. And I think they're going to continue to be successful in the Premier League. I think they've surprised us all. They've fought against the big teams. They've been absolutely class, to be honest. And they did that without Mopé for the most part. So,
Of course, here's mentions. For those who know, and for those who have been subscribed to Premier League Primetime since day one, we all know what Sirius has had to say about Neil Maupay. I'm sure Wally would probably say the same. But that leads me into the inevitable next point. Alexis McAllister, Moises Caicedo. We all know McAllister is now gone to Liverpool, and Moises Caicedo is up for sale now. Strange to see that he signed a 4-year contract in January after that transfer window. And now, even though he still has 4 years on he's a new 4-year deal, and now his transfer value, and especially for how good he's been at the end of the season, that's definitely going to only go up. And how much do you think Brighton will miss these two players? And do you think Brighton will be able to replace them in regards to quality or player type? And how do you think Brighton will go about doing so?
100%, I have no doubt. I think they can replace them. It's just a matter of the players that they replace them with. How long will it take for them to reach the levels that those two did? Because bearing in mind, Caicedo's only played one season of Premier League football week in, week out, and we're already hearing like £100 million rumours all over the gaff. Like he's a baller, genuinely. He's a quality player. I remember his first game was against Arsenal when we lost 2-1 last year. Absolutely dominated the midfield. Him, Moipu, sad what happened to him, but in general, like that entire team, that midfield, especially him that day, the way he just dominated us, like it was crazy to see him.
Oh, he dominated us last season too. But then again, everyone dominated us last season. Everyone did.
Yeah.
So, that.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think they can replace him. I think Caicedo can. It was a smart thing from Brighton, obviously, to give him the new contract so they could get more money for him. Like in general, they're just a brilliantly well-run club, like from top to bottom. Like the way that they generate money, the way they sign players. Look at the likes of Enciso, they bought for 2 million. He could easily go now for about 30, 40, 50. And he's not even hit his ceiling yet. Evan Ferguson's come through the academy and has had a brilliant breakout season.
I would love him at Manchester United. Evan Ferguson. He is an absolute gem.
He's generally the perfect striker. He's got everything. He's got the technical ability. He's got the finishing. He's got the physicality, heading like she's there. Everything's there with him, and he's only 18. He's only going to get better. You look at the likes. I'm probably missing out a few as well. Even like Robert Sanchez, the goalkeeper.
He's not even first choice.
I mean, he's had injury problems here. From our side, he's just had injury problems. But even still, who's coming? The guy. Do you know? Oh my days! I need to give you a little story. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I was just dwindling through Twitter. Yeah, and I saw like an appreciation post about Steele. I was like, yeah, well, let's see. This guy looks like a young keeper. Let's see how old he is. He's 32.
He's 32.
He's 32. When I saw that, I genuinely gasped. I was like, oh my days.
That's insane. Hey, I didn't even know that.
The way he plays, yeah, I genuinely thought the numbers were switched. I thought it was 23. Like, genuinely, I thought he was another up-and-coming keeper in the academy. Like, he's been around. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
But just in general, the team, Levi Colwill, his first Premier League season, but he's actually playing Premier League football. He's playing that well.
Brighton,
like, honestly, mate, Brighton.
40 million bid for him.
You just got to give him props, innit?
100%.
Like, brilliant.
And next, of course, taking that last European place, and I know this will bring Waleed and serious fond memories, Aston Villa and Unai Emery. What a season they've had as well. Jose, I'll go with you for this one. Players have set to on the positive and negative spectrum, and scores and ratings for Aston Villa and Unai Emery for the season.
I'm very sorry. Before you answer that question, I've just come up with a question from the Brighton part. So I want to give it's a little debate question here. So
go for it.
Does this Brighton season show that Graham Potter might be an average manager? Yes or no?
That's a great question. You know what? Let's throw that question out to everyone else. Jose, what do you think? You're muted.
I would say no, because I think he was a big part in creating this team and making them play originally how well they have been this season. I would say that his work in the last few years was essential to them being able to play so well this season. I think De Zerbi is fantastic as well, but I just think that without Graham Potter's work in the past few seasons, I think that Brighton would not be the team that they are this season.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair. But anyways, to keep it moving, Unai Emery and Aston Villa. Jose, getting back to Unai Emery and Aston Villa. Thoughts on them this season? Players have stood out to you, negative and positive.
Yeah, I mean they've had a great season. I would say I'd have to give them Probably a 9 out of 10. I think that none of us were expecting them, especially after how poorly they started the season, to climb so far up in the table and actually claim a European spot. So I think that'll be great for them, and I'm happy to see them back in Europe next season. Stand-up players, I would say I was very impressed by McGinn and Ramsey. I thought they both had great seasons. I would definitely have to say Ollie Watkins. I think it's his third consecutive season with more than 10 Premier League goals, which is very impressive for him.
I always point out Ollie Watkins every show.
For players who have not been good, I would probably say Felipe Coutinho was very disappointing this season under both managers. But yeah.
100%. And you know what? Also, I think we have to give Tyrone Mings his shout because the comeback he's made in that Aston Villa side, he's been looking very, very, very good these past few months under Unai Emery, and I thought, and I even was asking everyone else this about questions of him being the one to be shifted out of the side, but he's been coming into his own. Tyrone Mings. He's been looking great. His performances have definitely gone up. You know, I think one would have to give him that credit. 100%. You know, he was disappointed not to see what Diego Carlos had in store with that horrific injury. Two other players, Alex Moreno, and of course the one and only English Cafu, that of course Arsenal supporters will know more than anything. The English Cafu, Ashley Young, every time he plays at right back, always gets some sort of goal contribution.
I don't know how he does it, honestly. I don't know how he does it. 38, 39, playing at the top level and just consistently being a great performer. But this is what Unai Emery does. Like, in the words of Rio Ferdinand, this is what he does. Like, he gets the best out of these players. Like, some of these players that you may think are bang average, even the likes of Konza, he had a very poor season last year. He's come back and he's looked brilliant. And me personally, maybe he should have gotten called up over Tyrone Mings, but whichever one of them, I wouldn't have minded because I've been impressed with both of them this year. Look at Emi Martinez, that calmness that we have in goal that can just like do his thing. Like, he's just a brilliant goalkeeper.
And you got
if any top team doesn't go for him in the summer, I'll be shocked, honestly.
And Martinez love to make room for Leno.
Oh yeah. Bro, like Mopay, if you never injured Leno, like this never know, might not have happened.
Yeah, Mopay needs to get his shouts for that.
Yeah, man, big up Neil himself, man. Like, hate him so much. All jokes aside, like genuinely, it's Aston Villa team. Like you look at the likes of Kamara, he is a brilliant midfielder. Like obviously, I don't know if we're gonna talk about Fulham in this episode, but people compare Palhinha to like some of the best in the league. Genuinely, I think Kamara is in that conversation. Like
really?
The technical ability he has on the ball, the calmness that he has, the way he can just pick out a pass, the way he's so like
brilliant player,
he's just a brilliant player. And they signed him for what? 20 million or maybe even less than that.
No, he was free.
It was free.
He
They
was
signed
a
him
free
for free. When I remember Man United were looking at him, City were even looking at him at one point. Like all of these top teams are looking at him. They got him for free. Now they could easily sell him for about 40, 50 million. Like
100%.
He's a quality player. Like I'd happily take him to Arsenal to replace Thomas Partey in the next coming years. Obviously, we never know what happens with the situation outside of football, whether Partey still plays or not. But if that's the case and he doesn't play anymore, I'll happily bring in Kamara as a replacement because I think he's genuinely class. Honestly.
I mean, bringing him in to replace, the proclaimed best defensive midfielder in the Premier League. I mean, that is a big ask to
Thomas Partey. Oh, sure, man. Let's not do that.
Anyway,
yeah. No.
Oh, Andre, it's your time. It's time, Andre. It's time. We got to talk about Tottenham.
Time to laugh.
Tottenham. Now, where do we start? But let's go back to this time last year in the summer. Signed Jed Spence, signed Richarlison. They signed Bentancur permanently. Oh, I know that was January. My bad. Well, they signed Bentancur and Kulusevski. I'm gonna do my best to not laugh. Because Andre knows how much devil's advocate I am with Tottenham. Paris Return free, good business. Paris Return free, that's fine. Udogi, to come in this season. Good, promising young player. And Lenglet on loan from Barcelona. And I think that's it. And I think all of us said that they were going to have a good season. So to be fair, I think we all thought we were going to have a good season. Definitely didn't go to plan. Andre, we'll just get right into the chase. For you, who's to blame? Is it a collective or is it like one more than the other?
I think it is a collective. I would probably have to blame a lot. Still on the board though. It's just been there's been no initiative. Every decision has been far too safe. Yeah, it's disappointing that after a season where Conte saved us, made us finish fourth, and he dragged us to fourth last season, and then to end up where we are here, it's been a fraud of a season for us, I think, especially for how long we were in the top six. Yeah, it's been bad.
Yeah, I mean, you lot have had a whole lot of work to do, but we'll keep it moving. Tottenham did make a new signing. No, not a director of football, and no, not a new centre back or striker, but a new manager at last. Ange Postecoglou coming in from Celtic. Nothing was, I guess you could say, somewhat of a shock after seeing the links to likes of Nagelsmann and Luis Enrique. Andre, what are your thoughts on this? And I know Jose and Andre and we were kind of talking about this earlier about Ange Postecoglou. What do you think about the overall appointment?
Yeah, I think he's obviously going to bring back identity to the club. His ball has been lauded for years for being very attacking, very aggressive. To me, he kind of feels like sort of an old school manager, but with very modern tactics. And you know that could be a very good combination in this era of the Premier League. I think it's probably a good time to, if we're gonna appoint someone of an unknown manager, strictly based on this football, then it probably is the time is now, because we're literally out of the top six, let's say, going into the next season. Right? It feels like they can't really sink any lower right now. It seems like we're in a similar situation to Chelsea, where the only way is up. If we're going to experiment and we're going to back this guy, he's going to need time. It's at every club he's ever been at. The time is now. I think there's a high chance that we could lose our star players, Kane and Son. I think it seems like they could both. So we get the time. We're gonna make a gamble like this. It's now.
And speaking of Harry Kane, I know I've asked this Andre so many times. Andre, the season's over. What happens to Harry Kane? Does he go, or does Daniel Levy do what Daniel Levy does? Quick prediction. What do you think?
The thing is, if Daniel Levy is going to do what Daniel Levy does, it should be to sell Kane. To be able to get somewhere around 90 million for this season or next year, lose him on a free, is just preposterous, right? I think, given that it's going to be the same clubs interested in him anyway, I think United or Real Madrid is probably a reason to go. I think we should use that money to just take the chance. I think we're in an era of football where there are plenty of quality strikers out there in the world. Yeah, I'd say Real Madrid or Man United is raising that up.
100%, definitely. I mean, you have the likes of Evan Ferguson, Højlund, who would probably cost a good amount of money that Tottenham will spend. I don't know, but let's get into Brentford. Serious into Brentford. Taking a look at Brentford. Finishing 10th. Progression, steady progression. What would you lot say? Would you say, obviously, other than this man, Ivan Toney, who's just been brilliant this season, and they will lose him now for 8 months, and that's going to be definitely crippling for them. How do Brentford move forward or handle or manage for the Premier League next season? Looking at Ivan Toney's absence, do they need to bring in a striker this summer? And how would you rate the overall season? Sirius, I'll come to you for this. Or not. Anyone can answer this.
Yeah, I'll start. And out of 10, I'll probably give it an 8 as well, to be honest, because a lot of people did think that Brentford would go down. Like, rock bottom 20 of people thinking second season syndrome's going to come in. They're not going to be able to challenge. Even their summer recruitments weren't really, at the time, that good. Like, people thought they were overwhelmed, like underwhelming. You look at the likes of maybe Ben Mee, who just got relegated at Burnley. You probably thought at the time, what's he going to do? Average. You maybe looked at Damsgaard was not really worked out to be a good signing. Other signings in general that they've made haven't really like clicked. And obviously, you look when Christian Eriksen left Brentford to go to United. We thought that'd be crazy. Like, we generally thought they'd go down, but they didn't. And I haven't told you, like, I don't know. I don't understand how people are already talking about it. Maybe because you probably bet £600 that it happened, but he's bagged 20 goals in the Premier League in a second season. Like, that's honestly an insane achievement for a guy 5 years ago that was playing in League One, League Two, being a Newcastle reject. He's come in and he's done the business for the team. Look at the likes of Mbeumo, who's underrated, criminally underrated. He's such a baller. You even look at the likes of like other players that they have around, Jensen, who's, I personally think he's one of my favourite players to watch from that Brentford team all season. The way he just dictates the midfield. And in general, yeah, they've had a brilliant season and they deserve it. They were very close on getting maybe European football, but they might not be ready for that just yet. But Thomas Frank being the brilliant manager he is, I genuinely think they could easily challenge for that next year. And it's crazy, you know, like Chelsea being the third worst team in West London. Like, never thought we'd see the day, but here we are.
And of course, I think all of us love to see that from Chelsea. Next, Fulham. And again, just another team that we thought were going to go down have had a very, very good season. Stand-up players for Fulham this season, both positive and negative. And what would you make of their season? Sirius?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm just gonna turn my camera off for like the next 3 minutes because I've been literally like disconnecting every 5 seconds. I'd say, well, you have to give it to Mitrovic. He's been great. Getting suspended probably hurt them a little bit, but I think that's the one thing about him. If he could maybe have a calmer and cooler head, things would work out for him more. I honestly think someone who's been pretty decent this season that was absolutely awful for us is Willian. I think he's been rejuvenated this season. You know, when I watched him against Crystal Palace, I went to the Fulham Crystal Palace game. By the way, Fulham Stadium is so nice. It's like by the river. It's so nice. When I was watching him, he was great. He got the assist. He just looked like a different player. He was playing like he was 25 years old. Another player stood out for me is Paulinho. He's been great. He was great on that team. We'll see if he stays next season. You know, they have the likes of, they have two decent fullbacks, Tete,
Cedric?
and of course, and Robinson. And you know, like I think Leno is a decent keeper. Do I think he's top 4 quality? No. I think Leno's issue has always been that he's a great shot stopper, but he's so indecisive when it comes to having the ball at his feet and when it comes to crosses being dealt into the box. I think that's where he struggles. I actually saw that in the Crystal Palace game on the ball. That's where he struggles. But I think for a Fulham side, I think he's a great keeper for them to have.
No, 100%. I agree with that. And speaking on João Palhinha, will Fulham be able to keep him in the summer?
Nah, not for me. If only maybe I could personally. I don't think he'd stay in the Premier League. I don't know. I'd see maybe like Bayern maybe coming in and snooping him up. Someone like that. I think a European team would take him. But even though we've all sang his praises and we've all seen how brilliant he's been this season, I think a person, that maybe you guys might also agree with, that's had a brilliant season that people aren't talking about, is Tim Ream. Like, I can't lie. He, this season, I think he's played every single game, every single 90 minutes.
No, he has.
He was solid in that back line.
the US men's national team as they're going to be
He's just been absolutely amazing. Bearing in mind what he's like 35, 36.
Mhm.
They
Even at
love
the World
they
Cup
love
for
to chant his
America,
name
USA.
at Craven
He was
Cottage.
class. I genuinely think this season he's had a brilliant year, and maybe Fulham are still going to look at replacing him due to the fact that he's just maybe a bit too old. But he's been class, genuinely.
No,
Yeah,
100%. No, he's had a great season as well. Moving into the next side, a club who I'm a big fan of, and I just personally have a lot of liking for them, Crystal Palace. Looking at their season as well, definitely underwhelming. Looking at how good they were last season, how absolutely brilliant were. Looking at some of the players that they've had, and now had sort of a rough season, but at the end of the day, it was sort of up and down. Andre, the scores made for Crystal Palace this season, players have stood out to you on a positive and negative side of things.
Yeah, complete just topsy-turvy season from Palace. Just to see Hodgson be back at the club was a huge downer. Granted, it was much better than I think the end of Hodgson since the last time he was there. He gave huge credit to Vieira for the work he's done there. Palace were a much more established side when Hodgson came in this time, but it's just a shame that for me that Vieira could not just keep getting the same out of them. I'd probably give their season like a 6, maybe even lower. I think that generally there's a time limit on how much longer Palace can keep just playing to stay in the league. There's not. I hope that one day they can have the ambition to try and go higher, the way we've seen Villa and Brighton do so, Brentford even. But yeah, I think it was a bit of a downer season from Palace.
No, 100%. And I think two things that we need to talk about. Of course, is he going to stay or is he going to leave, Wilfried Zaha?
I think Wilfried Zaha is going to probably leave. I don't know about Wilfried Zaha. I don't think he's really.
I saw that wrong.
But nah, I'm joking.
No.
Nah,
That's gonna get clipped. That's gonna get clipped.
I think his contract's run out anyways, to be honest. So I think he is like confirmed to leave, but I think it's too little, too late.
That's fair. And next,
I would just like to step in and say that Dave, I spelled that right.
and their next manager. My apologies for butchering that.
No, you spelled it right. I'm telling you, you spelled it right.
Okay, then good. Hopefully, I did.
Yeah.
The next manager. Now, Roy Hodgson is out the door, and Waleed said me turning 21 is ancient. Roy Hodgson is. I think if there's a visual dictionary for ancient, I think Roy Hodgson would be on that definition, because that man is literally ancient. I mean, the man is still managing. And also, you know what? Fair play to Roy Hodgson. I mean, I think he's in is he in his late 70s, early 80s? I mean, he is. I mean, fair play to him. But their next manager, Jose, who do you think the ideal appointment is for Palace, looking at perhaps what they're trying to do, what they're trying to build?
I mean, I don't know. I actually think they're quite happy with Roy Hodgson at the moment. I think I've heard a lot of football commentators say that they think that if Hodgson stays, Crystal Palace will have a solid season next year. And I think I probably agree. I think the Zaha loss will be tough, but I could see them staying in mid-table if Roy Hodgson stays next season. But if I did have to look for someone, I mean, you think about maybe Marco Silva could be good, but why would he leave Fulham? They just had a better season than Palace, so yeah. I don't know. But someone like Marco Silva maybe would suit them.
I don't think Zaha leaving will affect them that much, honestly. To be honest, I think this team on paper is actually a really decent team. I think both their center backs are very solid. I actually like their center back. I don't know his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Guehi.
Yeah, I actually like him a lot. I think he's really good. I really don't think Zaha leaving is going to affect them as much as people think.
No, yeah, and we've seen that Aberecheze and Michael Elise have been able to take that responsibility in the attack and then carry that forward, regardless if Palace are able to keep a hold of these two promising young players post the summer. Which congratulations to Aberecheze on getting his first call up, well deserved for the young man. And I mean, for me, I think for the next manager, this may sound sort of surprising, but I think someone like Graham Potter would actually work wonders at Crystal Palace. I think he'd actually be a good fit, looking at the kind of young players that they have, and just a very, very, very youthful foundation. I think Graham Potter would be a good fit for
Yeah,
the Palace side.
I think he'd be a good fit, but he'll never go because I'm pretty sure Brighton and Palace are like rivals. So I wouldn't see him going.
No, but yeah, so, someone like that. And now, I think it's now time to talk about the club that I think we've all been waiting to talk about. A club who I thought, after last season, I thought there was no way any top 6 side could do worse. And then this club said, hold my beer and we'll show you that we can. Chelsea Football Club. What can we say about Chelsea other than it has been a shambles? Jose, Chelsea. You could say a lot of negative players, a few positive players, but overall assessment of Chelsea's season.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliantly shocking from them this season.
Brilliantly shocking.
And particularly from their winger, what's his name? It's Raheem Sterling. He's had a fantastic season, as I predicted. I thought he would do excellently at Chelsea, and he did exactly that. So what else is there to say? For a positive player, an actual positive player, I would have to say probably the only one is Thiago Silva, who continues to lead by example. Couldn't really do so this season because everyone else was shit, but normally he probably would be. I would say that his performances were pretty good. He's probably the only player that Chelsea fans still chant in the stadium. And away from home as well, and the only one who can probably still hold his head high after the season. If they lose him, they'll probably be in a even worse position than they already are. But otherwise, some of their worst players this season, I would definitely say Aubameyang been terrible. Edouard Mendy's been awful. Pretty much every time his keys come in. Who else? I would say everyone else, to be honest.
Kai Havertz has been
poor.
Mason
Mount has been poor. Azpilicueta has been awful.
That marathon runner.
I mean, the list goes on. Basically every time. Basically every time Chelsea plays.
Draco Malfoy at left wing.
Or even better, Draco Malfoy at left wing back is even better. But I would say. If I had to rate Chelsea's season, I'd probably give them a 1 out of 10 because they achieved absolutely nothing. And every time you see Chelsea playing a team, you think, how are Chelsea going to win this game? I don't know.
No, literally. I think the 1's a bit generous. I mean, finishing 12th. That's a 0-0-0, as I would say. I mean, Mason Mount just leave him there. Just leave him at Chelsea. I don't know how the board are putting a 70 million price tag on Mason Mount. Kai Havertz.
No, I'm glad they're doing that because then we won't buy him. That's good. They can put the 70.
But then again, you never know. I mean, our board's pretty diluted. So we spent 80 million pounds on Harry Maguire. So you never know. But here's the thing: this team needs an almighty shakeup. It needs more trimming than my hairline right now because my hairline is a shambles at the moment. It needs more trimming than that. I mean, Chelsea need.
I think if I can speak on this as well, I would say the interesting thing about this is I don't even think the solution anymore for them is buying players. I think that they need one. They need one striker this summer, and that's it. And you just deal with what you have because I think
they need 3.
The more players they add to the shit show, the shittier the shit show gets.
I think they need three things. I think they need a goalkeeper, a defensive midfielder, and a striker, and that's it. And then that's all they need. They only need three things. I'd say. I mean, for Chelsea. I mean,
I love
Hey,
Enzo
just like goalkeeper.
Fernandez.
seriously, I'll just go over to you in this. I mean, who's to blame for how awful Chelsea have been this season? And is it a culmination of everyone, or is it the owners, or is it the manager?
I mean, I don't know why you're rehiring Frank Lampard, and I don't possibly know how you fire Tuchel just because he has like a couple of bad string games. Like, really, you're gonna fire him and then hire Frank Lampard? Fem's record is so horrible. Like, what? It's not like I'm not fully blaming it on him. The players have absolutely no desire. You have Havertz being played out of. You know what? He gets criticized a lot, but he's being played out of position. He is not a striker.
But
They didn't-
Havertz has been played everywhere, though, whether it's a 10 or left wing or right wing or up front as an 8. Like,
I know, but I still think he's not that horrible. I'm gonna say I was wrong. Sterling was absolutely awful this season. Jose
And who
was
was right? Wait, who was
Yeah,
right?
All right, fine. You're right. You're right.
Thanks.
I think Mudryk. I think we have to give him one more season. I think with everyone
what-
coming to the Premier League, you have to give him one more season. I think Pulisic is going to leave, but honestly, like to blame it, just I blame a lot of it on the owners.
Mm.
I think Enzo Fernandez is class, though. I think he's absolutely
yeah.
class.
Definitely.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
even
I'd
add
take him
to
off
what
Manchester
Jose was
tomorrow.
saying.
I'd take
I was
him
even
tomorrow.
add on to what Jose was saying. A couple other players I think should maybe keep their heads on high. I think Badiasho's been quite good since he's coming as well.
I'm a big fan of Badiashile.
Been impressed with Enzo as well and Thiago Silva. Those are the main players, except that, like, it's a season to forget, let's be honest. And if we are being brutally honest, it's probably the worst season of a Big Six club in Premier League history. Like,
Nope,
it's
ever.
honestly
Ever.
atrocious. The amount of money that they've spent. And to be honest, if I'm Todd Bowley, obviously we have to trim down the squad in order to breach financial fair play. They have to get rid of a lot of players. I'm maybe saying like 10, maybe more. If I'm him, I'm saying, because me personally, in world football right now, I think there's only one striker. I genuinely think that's realistic. Only one striker in the world can go to Chelsea and break the number 9 curse, and I genuinely think that's Victor Osimhen. If I'm Chelsea, I'm going to Napoli. I don't care how much you want, even as Rio Ferdinand once again said, put it on the table, contract, everything, 150 million, throw it at Napoli, see what happens. Because genuinely, I honestly swear, think he's the only player that can come to Chelsea that can bag 20 Premier League goals plus. He's that good. And I think it's him. The situation at AC Milan right now, where Maldini looks like he's leaving, Milan are absolutely in turmoil. Like, genuinely, I think I've made a video about that on my TikTok already. Make sure to check that out. Bolidinho one on TikTok. But yeah, I just think go for Maignan, because let's be real, AC Milan, they're not going to sign that many players in the summer. Go ahead, splash cash, get Maignan in. And then if I'm really being cheeky, maybe go to the other side of West London and get Palhinha from Fulham. I think if they get those 3 in, they'll be set, and I think they could get 5th place. I don't think they'll get top 4, because even though Pochettino has to come in, we all know that when it comes to egos, he can't really deal with them.
He's magic.
So he needs to make sure he gets all the Chelsea players on board first. He plays an attractive style of football. And in general, he's a very good coach, and he's a very good one-to-one coach as well. He can get the best out of his players, as we've seen multiple times with Dele Alli, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. List goes on and on and on. Even if you look at PSG, like
Ryan Mason.
Right. In general, just Pochettino, he knows what he's
Andre's
doing.
favorite ever, man.
Harry Winks, his best ever season was under Poch. So yeah, Sissoko as well. Like, in general, he got Sissoko and Harry Winks to the Champions League final. Like, if that doesn't show that he's a quality manager, I don't know what does. But
Speaking of Pochettino, that's my last one for Chelsea. Maurizio Pochettino, what a job he has on his hands. What should be the expectations for Pochettino next season?
I think it's a good appointment. I generally think it should be like Man United, where battle for top 4 and get a trophy, and that's a quality season. Because I think to go from 12th straight to top 4 is unrealistic. Even though Chelsea shouldn't have finished 12th in the first place, and with that squad, they should be challenging for the Premier League. If we're being honest, you can't jump 7, 8, 9 places in a season. Like, it's
No,
unrealistic.
100%.
Obviously,
I mean,
if you look
yeah.
at Newcastle, that's an anomaly. But with Chelsea, it's completely different. Like, there's a lot of things they need to sort out. Their stadium is still stuck in World War II. They need to sort that out. Some of the players that have been here
Old
for
Trafford
10
is
plus
pretty
years.
ancient as well.
Yeah, it's a brilliant stadium, but if they want, they're talking about like trying to expand it. They need to do that. They need to get rid of Deadwood as well.
100%. Next, Wolves. Now, looking at Wolves, what would we give their season on a score from 1 to 10? Standout players on a positive and negative, and your assessment of Julian Lopetegui. Jose, what are we saying?
I think it's a big improvement. Honestly, I've liked the job Lopetegui's done. I think that at the beginning of the season, with the form Wolves are showing, we thought that they probably could go down, but I think that he's really steadied the ship. So I would probably give him a fairly high 7. But Wolves overall, I'd probably give them a 6 because I think we assume they could have done as well as they did this season. With players that I liked from Wolves, I thought Matias Nunez was all right. Otherwise, I don't know. No one else stands out immediately to me, but I would say him to stood out, but otherwise everyone else was all right.
No, yeah, that's fair. And on Lopetegui, will he stay at Wolves or will he be gone in the summer? Because there have definitely been numerous reports that Lopetegui's not happy with the Wolves board, that he was promised certain funds, and it looks like that he's not going to get those funds. The futures of Julian Lopetegui, and of course, as we hear every summer, Ruben Neves. Will they stay or will they go? What do you think?
I mean, I have a feeling that they could both go. I think that with the amount of clubs that might need a new manager this season, I could see Lopetegui being tempted away. And I think if Lopetegui goes, then Neves could go as well. And I think if that happens, I could see Wolves potentially going down next season.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bold prediction, but you know what? That's definitely not unlikely.
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
No, I think in regard to the futures, it's going to matter just what direction would the Wolves board decide they want to take the club. If I'm Wolves, I'm trying to bring the spark back that they had a few years ago when Jota, Jimenez, Pedro Neto were all on top form, right? I think they should just raid like the Portuguese league, Jack League's league, like just get some players that nobody knows but that have like insane quality and are entertaining to watch. Do that, and you can probably keep Julian Lopetegui. But if you don't, then yeah, I think we're probably fortunate to not at least be in the talk of relegation this season. Yeah, it's Wolves right now. It's the time where they're either gonna head up back into the conversation of some of the most entertaining top sides in the Premier League, or just go way down. It's a breaking point for Wolves.
100%. Next, West Ham. They have had such an underwhelming season. Looking at how brilliant they've been the past 2 seasons. Looking at West Ham, finishing, I believe, 14th in the table. That's definitely not any place any of us would have said West Ham were going to be. Scores and ratings for West Ham and David Moyes this season, and stand-up players both on a positive and negative note.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious the European football got to them, and they've gone and done well in the European competition. They're in the final right now of the Conference League. But yeah, and overall underwhelming in the Premier League. It didn't even feel like that much of a priority for them to do that well once they realized that they didn't have the depth to fight on all fronts. I think they've signed some players, but they haven't gelled into Moyes' system the way that maybe we thought they would. Scamacca comes to mind as someone who is clearly has quality, but just struggles to play the David Moyes way. I think West Ham, they have the facilities to maybe keep pushing and do well, but the scouting needs to be better. Overall, just a lack of direction this season. I'd probably give their Premier League season about a 5.
That's very fair. And now I think the ultimate question is, it's a matter of where he goes. Declan Rice, where is he going to end up? I think it's just a matter of time now that he will go. Declan Rice. apparently, gentlemen's agreements, unlike Tottenham, exists at West Ham, and they've agreed to let him go at the end of the season. And Declan Rice, where do you think he'll end up?
He's coming to us. He's coming to us.
Arsenal.
I would disagree. I think that we were talking about Chelsea getting a CDM. I have always thought that if Chelsea go in for him, he's going to go to Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he's a Chelsea fan. I want to say he played for Chelsea's youth
Yeah,
academy,
he did play
Yeah.
for Chelsea.
So I think if Chelsea, even if in Chelsea's bad situation right now, I think if Chelsea go for him, he'll go there. But otherwise, if Arsenal want him, I could see him going there too. I would edge towards Chelsea though.
I
Talks
think
of Bayern Munich,
Yeah.
No,
Man City, Man United,
I think he's staying in England. If he's going anywhere, it's going to be in England.
and you think he'll end up at Arsenal. Fair
If we
enough.
play 100 million, yes.
And last but not least, David Moyes. If West Ham lose the Conference League final tomorrow, there have been strong reports that West Ham would highly reconsider the future of David Moyes, seeing at how poor the league campaign has been, and now could potentially sack him. If they lose the Conference League final, what do you think will happen to David Moyes? Do you think he will stay, give him more time and money, or will he go?
I think he's gonna. I don't think they're gonna fire him, even if they lose. I lagged out, so I didn't hear what you guys said about the issues with West Ham, but their top goal scorer has 6 goals. Their starting striker Mikel Antonio has 5 goals. That's simply not good enough. They need a number 9. Now that they're losing Declan Rice, if they don't make some changes, I can sincerely see them going down. I fancy Fabianski though.
Of course, never forget Lucas Fabianski in his Arsenal days. But not as much as Chesney with the ciggies in the showers. But next, Bournemouth. Now Bournemouth. You know what? I think we all got to give it up for Gary O'Neill. I think we really do. I mean, what a job he's done in keeping them up, and what a job that he's done in sitting Jose down and really proving him wrong about his ability of keeping him up. Jose, are we going to see Gary O'Neill, our man Gary O'Neill, get some credit here for keeping this Bournemouth side in the Premier League, which, to be fair, all of us thought they were going to be rock bottom and finish in 20th?
Yeah, no, totally. I think that he's definitely in the conversation for manager of the season after how he ended the season and how he resurrected this Bournemouth side. And when I was criticizing him, it was just because they were probably still losing, but he definitely did do a great job and much better than I expected. Definitely.
No, 100%. And I think some players that I think we have to talk about, Philip Billing as well. Philip Billing, Neto from the goalkeeper from Barcelona that came in, Marcus Tavernier, Jaden Anthony. I think that's his name. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong. He's been very good since coming in as well. And you know what? I think just as a collective, just as an actual team, I think Bournemouth as a cohesive unit at times, they play really well. And I mean, they can definitely upgrade on the likes of Dom Solanke. They can definitely upgrade on the likes of that. But I just think as a collective, I think just as a whole, at times they can surprise. They can surprise. Next, Nottingham Forest. Now, I think the one place we have to start with Nottingham Forest is the bloated squad that they have. I mean, they've already chosen to release some players. Unfortunately, you will not be seeing Jay Lings back in a Nottingham Forest kit. I know, very, very unfortunate for the promising youngster Jesse Lingard. But hopefully he will be back in the Premier League and back making the Emirates his dance floor, as always. But what are we giving Nottingham Forest and Steve Cooper for the season? And stand up players on a positive and negative. Waleed.
Oh, see, I'm gonna give them a 7.5. I think the fact that they stayed up and they stayed up in 16th, they had a brilliant second half of the season. First half of the season, they looked terrible though. And they had to make changes in January. They made those changes, and in general, Steve Cooper, who's once again another brilliant manager, he's gotten the best out of that team. And to be honest, I want to give massive credit to that Nottingham Forest board. The way they stuck with Steve Cooper in the tough times, they came out in interviews and said that we're backing this guy. He's going to keep us up. He's the manager that we need. And he's done that. He's done exactly that. And obviously, we've seen times where teams might go ahead and sign 15, 20 players. We saw Fulham do that a couple of years ago and they went straight down. Villa did that and they stayed up by the skin of their teeth on the final day. And even now, Forest have stayed up with doing that. So it's a very hit and miss tactic. But when they came up, not only did they have a lot of loan players, they had players that were not Premier League quality at all. In general, the whole squad, a lot of players needed moving on. A lot of players needed changing. And how Forest went about things was smart because they did sign players that are quality for the starting 11. They signed players that are quality for the reserves as well. But they bring in quality players all over that in general, if they gel, would have been good enough to stay up. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do next season.
100%. And I think just to move quickly, I think Morgan Gibbs-White has arguably been their player of the season. I think. I mean,
yeah, him and Brennan Johnson.
£14 million. Yeah, Brennan Johnson as well. I think those two have definitely formed a very good connection up front. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White's almost playing as a second striker, which is quite unbelievable. Now, next, yet again, they've gotten away with it. Everton, they've stayed up yet again on the final day. Abdoulaye Doucouré securing their safety. Sears, I'll go over to you to this one. Everton, positives, negatives for the season, and assess their season on a score from 1 to 10.
I mean, they barely stayed up yet again. 2 times in a row now, they've barely stayed up. It's gonna, you can't keep living life like that, to be honest. And, on paper, they're supposed to not, I don't know, be there. They signed Gay from PSG. I don't think he's been great. You have Yerry Mina from Barcelona. You have Tarkowski, star of Burnley. Cody, star of Wolverhampton. Pickford, England starter. Doucouré, who's, came from Watford, one of their best players. I was about to say Iobi, but yeah, he's just I honestly the start of the season, first half of the season, I thought he was their best player. I think Onana has been a bright spark on their team. I think, I don't know, Damari Gray is kind of inconsistent, but, it just kind of they're supposed to be doing better than this. These players are supposed to be better than this. And, they barely stayed up again. I could definitely see them getting relegated if things don't change.
100%, definitely. Now onto the sides that got relegated. 18th, Leicester City. And if I know there's one thing that Andre is gutted about, it's to not see Tottenham get Brenda. I know Andre definitely wanted Brenda into that Tottenham job. Like Heung-min, I was about to say, like Heung-min Son this season, Andre has gone missing. And we all know how much Andre definitely loves Brenda. But Jose, in your opinion, just what went wrong for Leicester this season that led to the relegation?
It's honestly difficult to put my finger on it, but I think I would probably say that it's the fact that so many of their players were so interested in leaving rather than in playing for Leicester. You look at Tielemans, who are some of their good players, like Madison. For me, it's those two. I think we're much more interested in getting a move to a big side than in actually playing for their side. And I think that's understandable because they've both been great players in a probably otherwise average side in the past few years. But you still have to think, how did it go that wrong? I mean, like Sirius was talking about for Arsenal, they're a great team on paper. but also a team that's very reliant on Jamie Vardy. And when his goals dried up like they did this season, they really struggled to find the same form.
That fell on the shoulders of James Maddison. And to be fair, I think unlike Tielemans, I think James Maddison definitely carried that Leicester side, and he's my player this season for Leicester by a million miles. Going into the World Cup, he was the two most informed English players, Bukayo Saka and James Maddison. Now he got no minutes, I'll never know. But he's definitely one that kept fighting to the end. And I just think also their defense was a shambles, getting rid of the whole Brendan Rodgers versus Kasper Schmeichel argument when they chose to stick with Brendan and get rid of Schmeichel. Didn't sign a goalkeeper. I think that just went horribly wrong for them. Their defense was an absolute shambles as well. It just looked like it was all going downhill. And aside that we've definitely heard Andre be very vocal about not being Premier League quality. Leeds United. Andre, I'm gonna go over to you for this one. Scores and ratings for Leeds United and players on a positive and negative aspect. I know Andre couldn't wait to talk about Leeds.
No, it's been like you guys say, a shambles for Leeds. I still think they would have been better off if they just held on to the American thing they had going with Jesse Marsh, Weston McKennie. I don't know. It's just not been. They've not been a Premier League quality side at all by any means. They need to go down. They need a rebuild. Leeds United is a huge club. It'd be almost an embarrassment if they were in the league with the sort of quality they have now. They just need to rebrand and come back up. It's just not been good enough for Leeds.
100%. And lastly, before we get to our picks of the season, Southampton. I mean, other than, I'll stick Southampton. I'm just saying, other than James Ward-Prowse, that team has just been nothing but a complete and utter mess. I mean, they do have some gems. I think Bella Kotchap is a gem of a player. I think that kid has a huge amount of potential. You know what? I actually do rate their goalkeeper, Bazunu. I actually do rate him. I think he's definitely Premier League quality. I just think he was on a horrific receiving end of having a horrific defense in front of him. Salisu as well, Walker Peters, and Lavia is an absolute gem in midfield, and he's definitely linked with a lot of big clubs. So I think other than that, I don't think anyone could keep their head top.
Yeah.
That was.
I don't think it goes to the other squad. I think this squad, this Southampton team, is one of the best squads to go down in a long time when you look at individual players. I just think managerial-wise, they had absolutely no clue what they were doing. Like, I agree that Hassan Hill should have been sacked, and he was sacked at a good time. But the people that they were bringing in, like people like Nathan Jones, like he's probably got the worst Premier League record for a manager. He's got one of the worst of all time, 100%. Like, I think 1 win in 15, and I was against Man City in the Cup somehow. And then you look at, I think... I think he won like one league game.
That's worse than Lampard's. Actually, no, he's right up there. Both of them.
Yeah, I mean, Lampard's less said about him the better. The fact they almost relegated 2 teams in one season. But
he kept 2 teams up.
Yeah, however you want to think of it. But I just think in general, even like this Sellers guy, this is the first time he's ever managed a Premier League team. It's the first time he's ever managed a football team in general. He's just been an assistant coach. And I know they're trying to be like Arsenal, trying to bring the young players and bring in the managers never managed before. But in general, you can't bring in players and you can't bring in managers like this when you're in a relegation battle. You just cannot. You just can't. It's unacceptable. The board have let them down. For being honest, they've let them down.
No, 100%. Definitely. I could not agree more. And now getting into our picks of the season. Our picks of the season, of course, as we always go in on at the end of the season. First, player of the season number 1. Now, in this certain criteria of the player of the season, like this player it's not someone who is signed over the summer, but just someone in general that's just surprised people in general with their performances. It could be good or it could be bad. it could be on a good side or a bad side in regards to expectations for them this season. So who would you lot say is their good and bad player this season?
I'll start off. I'll say Martin Odegaard. For me, he's been absolutely amazing. Totally a candidate for the actual player of the year. I just think we can't quite give that to him. So I wanted to mention him now. I think he's been absolutely amazing. The amount of goals he's contributed to for Arsenal this
15
season.
goals in
And yeah, I think it's the most. Is it the most penalty goals or the joint most non-penalty goals from a midfielder of all time?
I
in the
think
Premier League?
so. I think it's right up there with Lampard actually.
I don't really know about that stat, to be honest. Like, even though I don't know, surely Dele Alli should be up there, no? Didn't he bag like 20 goals from midfield?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Yaya Toure as well. Yaya Toure, I think, is up there as well.
Yeah.
He had that one incredible season, but
Yeah, but he had a lot of pens that season.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, that's true.
If
Yeah,
we're talking about not even like non-pens, I think Dele Alli should. I think he's top. But
Jose says Odegaard. Waleed, what about you? Who would your player this season be that's not a new signing, but just someone who definitely well exceeded expectations this season?
Oh, now I've got it's between two players. See, if you would have asked me this question in about March, I would have said the player behind you, David. I would have said Marcus Rashford. I think the season that he had last season was treacherous. It was poor, and there was not really any excuses because he had time off to heal from his injuries, to come back fully fit, 100%. Came back and he was terrible. But this season, completely new Marcus Rashford. 30 goals, I think, in all comps. Absolutely class. But I just feel like over the past 2 months, I think past 2 months, he just blowed off some steam. But if we're talking about players who exceeded expectations from what people are thinking of, I think Gabriel Martinelli. He has been absolutely amazing. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I don't think he gets the applaud he deserves at all. People talk about Saka on the other side. Of course, he's had a brilliant season as well. But Martinelli is our joint Premier League top goal scorer this year. Joint Premier League top goal scorer for a Brazilian of all time in one season. I just think this is his first season as well when he's actually playing week in, week out Premier League football. He's had a lot of injury problems. And he just, even last season, he wasn't really starting like that until about maybe January, February. This year, he's had a whole full year, played at almost nearly every game, and he's been amazing. And the thing is with him is that you don't get players like him nowadays where people may like clown him because he doesn't really play like as a Brazilian. He hasn't really got the flair, touch and all this. He's just a hard worker. I always see him running around. I always see him when he's coming off the pitch, tired, barely can walk off because he's put 110% on the pitch. And as you were alluding to earlier in the stream, David, when you're talking about players that when the going gets tough, maybe players like Tielemans might go into their shell. Martinelli is the complete opposite of that. I think there have been times this season where even in the big games he stepped up, scored 2 goals against Liverpool. Just to name a few, he's been the class. And yeah, for me, I think he has to be on.
100%. Andre, what about you?
So our first, it's just a player that we thought exceeded expectations. Is number one.
Yeah, or it could actually be good or bad. It could be a player who is shockingly bad, or it could be a player who is utterly brilliant.
Just someone we think we should shout out. All right.
Yeah, not a new signing though.
Okay, not a new signing. So we don't. I was thinking Matoma, but that would not work.
No,
he's not a new signing. He's not. No.
What do you mean? Okay, cool. Then yeah, Matoma for me, he's had an incredible impact at Brighton. Even just on the league in general, he's terrorized opposition all over the league. Nobody expected him to pull off what he has. I mean, he even almost, you could argue, didn't even start getting the recognition he deserved until after the World Cup. Yeah, Matoma for me is just someone that we need to mention for just somebody who's blossomed this season.
100%. Sears, what about you?
I mean, if we're talking about exceeding expectations, then I'm gonna have to go for Xhaka.
Hey.
Because he, especially like the first half of the season, he's been great. 7 goals, 7 assists. Finally playing. Like I really wonder if he played the role he played this season, the previous seasons, maybe things would have been different. And I think this is a great way to send him off because I think he was brilliant this season. I think he had 0 red cards. He played great. I think he exceeded expectations, and I think I think he was great this season. He was the backbone of our team.
No, 100%. And you know what? The fact how even Sirius is now one of Xhaka's biggest fans. I think that just says that speaks volumes about how good of a season he has. For me, I'll just come around to Messi last but not least. I actually had 2 players in mind. Marcus Rashford was actually one of them. And another player, and I know some people may argue that this player, we kind of expect this from every season because we know how good he is. He's one of the best in the world. And I know Andre is going to jump up and down with excitement when it says, but I think this season just really underlined for me how world-class of a player he actually is. To score 30 goals, Premier League goals in that dire Tottenham team, I think Harry Kane has to get some plaudits here. I mean, how on earth he scored 30 goals in that horrific, dead Tottenham side, I will never know. And as always, just playing devil's advocate of everything. Some people may think Tottenham have been very good and creative and innovative this season. With Ryan Mason and Stellini and Conte at the wheel. But look, I think Harry Kane deserves his plaudits 100%. And for me, just for his sake, and even Andre said this at times, he needs to go. He needs to go. And now next, the second player of the season. This one could be a new signing. Who's just your actual player of the season? And I think this one's just going to be a pretty easy one for me. It can't be anyone other than Erling Haaland. I'm sorry, it can't. I mean, he scored 36 goals this season in the Premier League. I mean, if anyone else has any other nominees for that, fire away.
Mine's Harry Kane. I think it's more impressive to score 30 in a Tottenham side than it is to score 36
That's very
in a
true.
Man City side.
That's very true.
And I think if any of Tottenham's
Here's
players,
the thing.
if any of Tottenham's players were anywhere near as good as City's players, Tottenham would be in the top 4, if not challenging for the title this season.
Challenging for the title?
I don't think so. Because when you deeply, okay, this is the thing.
You
Harry
can have
Kane, of
ability,
course,
but
is
if
the
you don't
most
have
reliable
mentality, then
striker.
that's just a whole nother thing.
Yeah, Harry Kane's the most reliable striker in the Premier League, if you think about it. You can put him in whatever Tottenham team, the best ever Tottenham team, the worst ever Tottenham team, he'll bag goals. Yes, okay.
That's why I want this man this summer. Please,
Yeah.
watch Harry Kane.
But maybe even Real Madrid could be getting him, you never know. But the thing is, but this is what we need to highlight. This Haaland Mbappe debate is only going to debate for about a year. And Haaland's first year when he's actually come into a team and is about to win the treble, mainly like 50% probably because of him. Like, you take out Haaland's goal, City don't win the Premier League. City maybe might make it far in the Champions League.
I think City would win the Premier League.
I don't think
they absolutely would win the Premier League.
Nah, I don't think so. Because when you think about it, okay.
City without a
in about October, November time, when everyone was saying, oh, Haaland doesn't fit the system, this and that, when you think about how poor they were, okay, cool. I think this new formation to combat Haaland that Pep has come out with, he wouldn't have come up with that formation if Haaland wasn't in the team because he wouldn't have had a striker. Maybe, they might have had Alvarez, but Alvarez wouldn't have put up the numbers that Haaland has put up.
Okay,
and I think if City played the same type of way they were playing last season, they would have been found out like that straight away. Because Arsenal kind of copied them in terms of the way they were playing. Even Liverpool towards the end of the season copied them the way they were playing. So if they were playing like that throughout the whole season, I think throughout 38 games they would have been outplayed 100%. So I think this new formation that they made, the players that they bring in to combat Haaland and to make him the player that he is the reason why they won the Premier League. And I think the fact that he's surely, I mean, you never know with UEFA because they might just be rigging it left, right, and centre, but surely he has to win the Ballon d'Or. Now it's based off seasons. He has to win the Ballon d'Or this year if they win the treble, and if he gets top goal scorer, and if he gets Player of the Year. I know Messi's won the World Cup, but that's all he's done.
Maybe De Bruyne, who knows?
Nah, it has to be Haaland. First year in the Premier League.
I agree with a lot of what you said, and I agree that the new system that Pep has looks like probably the best system I've seen from a City side so far. But I still think that if you take Holland out of the City side, I think they still win the Premier League and the FA Cup. And I think that not only do they do that, but they stay ahead of you for a lot longer than they did this season. I think that they would be probably top from start to finish without Holland in the team. And this is not me saying that they're a worse team with Holland, because I don't think they are. I'm not on that train either. But I just think that Kane's influence at Spurs could have got relegated without Kane this season, to be honest. And I think Man City would be just fine without Holland.
That's very fair. Andre, who's your pick for Player of the Year? Are you going with the Kane chain or Holland or
Darwin Núñez?
and like noodles, and like Darwin noodles?
Yeah. I mean, I think immediately I thought Holland. I mean, for me, he's the poster boy of what this Premier League season was, with all that he accomplished. But yeah, I think if I'm talking about players that I would immediately want over anybody, it would be Haaland, Kane, or Casemiro. I think I've just been shocked by how Kane has carried us this season. He scored in more games than Haaland, which is probably already evident of the fact that he's maybe more reliable, because Haaland did. He scored more goals, but yeah, Kane stretched across more games. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go Kane. I think he deserves immense credit, and yeah, I hope he goes somewhere where he can show his talent off to the rest of the world.
He deserves a move away for his own sanity. And I have a hot take here. I think if Harry Kane were in that Man City side instead of Erling Haaland, I think he would score more goals. Just a hot take.
Well,
I would agree
that's
with
a
you.
really hot take, Dave.
That's a
Sirius, last but not least, over to you. Who's your established Player of the Year? Could be a new signing. Could be
I think you have to give it to Holland just because of how many goals he scored. Kane's definitely up there for sure. I still think Holland will not win the Ballon d'Or. I think that would be for Messi.
What?
Disgrace.
What is wrong with you?
Okay.
What has
Okay.
Messi
When
done other than win the World Cup?
Modric did well in the World Cup, he won the Ballon d'Or.
When who?
When Modric did well
Yeah,
in the World
Modric
Cup,
also won the
he Ballon d'Or.
Champions League. That's
Yeah, but Modric won with Croatia and he won the Champions League and he challenged for the league.
Okay, but what player has 20 goals and 20 assists this season?
In the French league.
Vinicius Jr. has 20 goals
Yeah,
and 20
Vinny.
Mbappe
Okay,
is
but did
then
Vinny
the
win the
top
World
goal
Cup?
scorer in
Wait,
the,
but did Vinny score in every single playoff game in the World Cup?
You
No.
take out the penalties, he's got about 2 goals, bro.
Well,
You missed one of them as well.
I don't see anyone scoring against France twice and winning the World Cup.
I see someone
Mbappe
scoring.
scored a hat-trick in the final.
3 times.
Mbappe scored 3 penalties in the final.
Yeah, but how old is Messi and how old is Mbappe?
Oh my goodness gracious me. Oh my goodness.
anyways, anyways, let's get into the next one. Manager of the Year. I think this is going to be very interesting. Jose, I'll start with you. Who is your Premier League Manager of the Year?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of options here. I mean, I would say I think Arteta's a great option. Howe is a great option. Gary O'Neill's a great option. I would say it's probably among those 3. I would go. Another honorable mentions. I would say De Zerbi and Unai Emery, but I would give it to Arteta. I thought Arsenal would be nowhere near where they were this season, so I would have to give, and to keep them in the title race for as long as he did. Props to Arteta. I'd give it to him.
What, you wouldn't give Ten Hag an honorable mention as well?
No, Ten Hag's been great, but I think that we had great investment in the summer, and I think that Ten Hag did as well as he was expected to do by a lot of people.
Waleed, what about you?
See, do you know the thing is, this is one thing that I'm jealous about, yeah. This is one thing that I wish we had that Man United had, yeah. With Man United, it's different because you guys would bottle something. So, like, let's for example, if you bottle the league in January, no one cares because it's January. If you bottle the league in like the last 5-10 games, everyone's onto you. So that and it was even the same last year. Man United were really shocking like in the January period, so that's why everyone just got used to it. Arsenal was so good for so long, and then in the last couple of games they fumbled, so now everyone hates them. That's if only Arsenal just fumbled it in January and didn't get my hopes up, I would actually my mental health would be so much better. But anyway, that was a tangent. With Manager of the Year, I would really want to give it to Mikel Arteta, but I don't think I can. I can't give it to him over Eddie Howe. I think it has to be Eddie Howe, manager of the year.
That's very
If
fair.
if we're going off of if you want to use the logic, Pep should have won it because he won the Premier League. Okay, cool. But for me, it's Eddie Howe. There's no other manager in world football that can do the job that he's done at Newcastle.
Mhm.
Hand
And,
on heart. Don't
Speaking of
think so.
Mikel Arteta, throwback to season 1. At the end of that season, where Sears famously called him Pep Jr. Let's not forget. I mean, he is Pep Jr. I think for me, I think if Arsenal were going to win this title, I think if they had brought back Shamak, Denilson, and Carl Jenkinson, they would have won the league 100%.
Nelson was low-key a baller.
Yeah, Denilson. Put some respect on his name.
And I think we also need to put some respect on a big Carl Jenkins's name as well.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Don't forget your Arsenal logo as well. The fact that we should have him over Antoine Griezmann. Cold.
Andre, what about you, manager of the season?
I'd probably go Roy Hodgson. No, Eddie Howe is for me. He put the Newcastle rebuild into just ultra speed, 2x, whatever. We didn't expect them to be where they are. He's meshed that team, and I think we all knew that there was huge potential in this guy after his Bournemouth stints, but now it's just he's certified for me as one of the top managers in football right
That's fair.
now. So yeah, Eddie Howe.
Very fair. Sears, what about you?
Yeah, I think if Arsenal would have won the league, it'd be hands down Arteta. But since they did not, I'm probably gonna have to go Eddie Howe as well for the job he's done.
100%. I mean, for me, if one were to ask me, I think a short list of Stellini, Mason, and Lampard, all three of them, brilliant this season. Antonio Conte for his amazing conference rants have been brilliant. But no, and also it's just as you lot said, I think Eddie Howe, the job that he's done has just been absolutely brilliant. As I mentioned before, he's taken this like the likes of the Longstaffs and the Joe Willocks and these kinds of players, and he's turned this side with some investment, but not splashing the cash, but with some quality investment. He's gotten this club into Champions League football, which is incredible, and I think you have to give him that 100%. But I think an honorable mention. None of us have mentioned him yet. I think Marco Silva's up there as well. Marco Silva, 100%. Has to be there. Next, young player of the year. Jose, what are we saying?
For me, this is the most obvious one. It has to be Bukayo Saka. Nothing else to say.
That's very fair. Waleed, what about you?
Sorry, what was that?
Young player of the year.
Oh, start order they come now. Bukayo Saka, either him or Martinelli. Definitely, I'd say.
I'd say if you're in Arsenal this season, it'd have to be Strawberry Carl Jenkinson, but unfortunately,
What is your obsession with this guy, man? Oh my days! Driest right back I've ever seen. Worse than Debussy, man. Flipping off.
Andre, young player of the year.
Fam's gonna say Kane.
This guy is absolutely lost it.
Andre, young player of the year.
It's a tough one because I think I also agree. I think it's Saka or Martinelli. I think personally, I think Martinelli I appreciate more. I think that he was quality for probably longer in the season, but the highs of Saka's peak form this season was pretty unmatched by any young player this season. So probably go Saka.
I mean, except Haaland for countering it, but I don't think
Serious,
so.
what about you?
Yeah, definitely Saka. I think the last month and a half he dropped off a little bit, but I think almost everyone on that Arsenal team did. And I think when you're that young of a player, I think the issue was honestly like Arteta would also play him in the Europa League games like the whole time, and I think that's like he's 21, he's a young player, he's gonna get fatigued. So yeah, but still, definitely Saka, 21 years old. Like, come on, brilliant.
He's had an exception, and honestly, I like every season that we've seen Saka since the 2021 season, where he's gotten just a consistent run of games, playing every week on that right hand side. You've just seen him constantly progress. He gets better. He's improved, gotten better and better and better. And thank goodness for Arsenal fans, they've locked him down to that long-term contract. You know, what an absolutely fantastic player. I mean, I've been saying it since the very beginning of this channel. Bukayo Saka, he's such an exceptional young player. I'd probably say the same, but if not him, and I think the promising young Jesse Lingard, I think you also have to give him a shout as well.
There we go.
Dark horse for the dark horse, a team who definitely exceeded expectations. You know, we could all say Newcastle, but I think we can also definitely make it interesting. Who would your dark horse team be for this season?
I would say Fulham. Definitely.
Yep, same.
Walid?
Fulham.
I agree 100% for them. Because I think with Brighton and Brentford, all these other teams, they had the potential to break into the top half. No one thought that Fulham would get in top half. A lot of people thought they wouldn't get relegated. I personally didn't think they would go down. But I thought they'd be around 15th, 14th. But nowhere near top half. Brilliant.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Andre, what about you?
It's a tough one. I think I mean, it wasn't really before season, but I think mid-season I did not expect a Villa resurgence. I didn't expect Emery to work the wonders that he has. So I think I consider Villa my dark horse just in my head.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll go Aston Villa as well, but I think you have to give Fulham their props. Now, you know what? I think this one's going to be quite obvious. Between two, the most underwhelming side in this Premier League campaign. Yeah, you know what? As poor as a certain team has been, I think this award can only go to one side. I'm sorry, Chelsea. Hold that award. You take
Chelsea. I think we can all agree.
Hold that. Yeah. Are we all agreeing with Chelsea? I think that should be.
Yeah, I would say Chelsea. I would also want to point out you could also make a case for Everton and Leicester.
Very True.
I'd say Leicester more because they were where did they finish last season? What, 8th? Went from 8th to 18th. That's a whole what? 10 places.
I mean, the season before that, they were challenging for Champions League.
After Man City, in my opinion, they were probably the best team in that lockdown period. Maybe United as well, but Leicester were the third best by far in the lockdown period, and that was about yesterday. So now the fact that they're in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, they bottled Champions League because Andre's favorite manager, he's always wanted at Tottenham, and I've said, hey, you know, he bottles things. And
Dean Smith, Andre.
Ange over Brenda any day.
Next, now into new signings. Signing of the season, and you know what? I'm going to cancel Haaland. Haaland's not going to be low for this. We're going to make this interesting because we can easily say Haaland. Signing of the season. Jose, I'll start with you.
This is where I'll give my guy props. Casemiro, absolutely. If we lose him, we probably finish about 10th, I would say.
100%. You have to give him his credits. Walid, what about you?
Oh, I don't know if it counts. I don't think it does. I want to say William Saliba, but he's not signing. But if I were to go signing of the season, that's not Haaland. Oh, I can't lie. I think it has to be Casemiro. Genuinely, like the fact that a CDM, first of all, has got 15 goal contributions in a season is absolutely insane. Like that's unheard of, and he's got more goal contributions than the whole Chelsea team. Like that's mad. Yeah, it has to be Casemiro. Honestly, yeah, class.
100%. Andre, what about you?
I'd probably go Mikhailo Mudryk. No, Casemiro is a guy. Just he's been incredible. Well, world class.
Sirius, what about you?
I think if Saliba, does Saliba not count?
No, Saliba doesn't.
Okay. Well, if
I
was gonna pick Casemiro anyways because Saliba got injured. So yeah, definitely Casemiro.
100%. I think Casemiro's up there, but I think also his fellow teammate Lissandro has been so good this season.
Yeah.
So good this season. He's immense.
Absolutely.
We have missed him.
I've just thought of another one. Big shout out as well to Sven Botman from Newcastle. He's absolutely insane centre back. he's come in and completely like revitalized that whole Newcastle defense, made it impenetrable. I think they still have the best defense in the league. They ended with the best defense in the league. They're just class. Bobman's a brilliant player. They didn't even buy him for that much. Was it 35 million? I remember the last summer,
Another
United were
brilliant
looking at
investment.
him. A lot of big clubs were looking at him. It looked like he was going to go Juventus as well, but I think that broke down. But yeah, Botman's went to Newcastle and hasn't turned back. He's been brilliant, 100%.
100%. And now this is going to be the fun section. Flop of the season. We could go in so many directions with this. Jose, I know that Raheem Sterling direction is definitely appealing to Jose, but to be honest, and it's not even defending Raheem Sterling, there are players who've definitely been worse.
I'm not gonna lie to you. There can only be one flop. There can only be Mr. It can only be him. It can only be that man. He's the only person that can score 4 goals, take off his shirt 4 times, and have 1 Premier League goal to his name. Has to be Richarlison. Oh my days! He hasn't scored a single home Premier League goal all year. Absolutely shit house, yeah. No, it has to be him.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's
more
been
haircuts
awful.
than goals, yeah.
But you know what? Like I like Richarlison's up there. But I just think for the figure, Mykhailo Mudryk just
That's what I would say.
because he doesn't even play.
maybe it's like a first season thing because he did come in January. To be fair, he did come in January, and I'm willing to give him another season. About £100 million. Just that for me, I would not spend £100 million on any player that. But then again, I mean, we all spent that much on Anthony, but at least there was something there. I mean, at least we did see some spin around, some talks. You know, we did see little bits of magic in there, but just I don't know. Mykhailo Mudryk just.
No, he doesn't even play under Lampard. I think that would be unfair to say him because he only started about 10 games. No, I wouldn't say him.
He also is
I'd say
playing
Richarlison.
basically left wing back nowadays.
That is very true. Honestly, Frank Lampard's up there as well. I think the signing of Frank Lampard as an interim manager was just shocking. I mean, Sirius and Jose already alluded to it, but come on. I mean, he was awful. Aubameyang.
Maybe Skamaka as well is probably a shout for the amount of money he went and came in for.
Yeah.
The hype. But I think it's in general with like Moyes, yeah. I forgot to say this when we were talking about West Ham.
Moyes isn't like he's not a manager that plays with flair. So like I think that's also another reason why like the Lucas Paquetas of that West Ham side have struggled. He's not a manager that plays with flair. Second to last point, best moment of the season. This could be anything involving the Premier League season. Jose, I will go to you. Your favorite.
This is just from a Man United fan's point of view, but for me, it was when we beat Liverpool at the beginning of the season because I just felt for me it was just when I saw like yes, it's actually we're turning this around. There's something there with Ten Hag. He's doing something right.
Jadon
I think I shed a tear after that match, to be honest.
The start of the downfall for Liverpool as well. Beautiful midfield partnership of Milnerson. We love that Milnerson.
Although I will also say, I probably did not enjoy any other match more than when Richarlison took his shirt off when he thought he won it for Tottenham, and then only for Liverpool to score moments later. That was pretty excellent.
Andre's going to need a therapy session after this. I can tell. Andre, your favorite moment of the Premier League season this year? Ryan Mason given the job or Stellini?
No, I mean for me it was like I think both my moments are from the perspective of a Spurs fan. I think for sure one of them was that when Richarlison equalized only for Luke Moore to throw it all away. But then also just seeing Haaland and KDB combine to put down Arsenal's hopes finally was probably a bit.
Be quiet.
Waleed, what about you?
So there's a few. I'm gonna give a few honorable mentions. I'm gonna talk about how Bournemouth came back from 2-0 down or 2-1, whatever, to beat Tottenham at White Hart Lane. That's a brilliant one. 95th minute as well. I want to talk about Arsenal, Reece Nelson, obviously. The goal that really, changed my life. That was incredible. Yeah. There's that, obviously, the two Conte situation, which still doesn't feel like the season, like that little, that was crazy.
Yeah, it feels so long ago.
Yeah, that genuinely is ages ago. Maybe
the Arteta sketches pre-match, the Arteta drawings on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
those were-
Also the little. That's definitely up there. That
Yeah.
was crazy shithousery. But yeah.
and the light bulb.
I think I'm just gonna have to go Reece Nelson. I'm gonna have
That's fair. Sirius, what about you? Favorite moment of the Premier League season?
I don't know if it's a moment, but it's moments that ever since Brentford have came into the league, I've always hyped them up, even when people said that they're gonna get relegated, and they've been amazing against beating all the top 6 sides besides Arsenal. I think probably them just beating Tottenham 3-1. I don't know why. I just fancy it.
Andre's gonna need a therapy session after this. I mean, for me, I could go in many different directions. I think.
Oh yeah, we
mentioned-
forgot about the 6-1 as well.
I mean, for me, I think that Liverpool match at home, that was definitely one. Where Sancho cooked Trent and cooked Milnerson. That was beautiful to watch. That's from a perspective of a Manchester fan, and then just something in general. The memes that came from the Jacob Murphy goal against Tottenham were just absolutely beautiful, just amazing, honestly. And now for the final part of the season 3 finale. Burnley, Sheffield United, Luton Town have been promoted to the Premier League this season. Thank you so much for your time watching this, and let us know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on the topics that have been in store in this feature of Premier League Primetime in the comments down below. Smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out our other platforms on Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you are watching this in the world. We hope you have an absolutely fantastic day / evening.